Hi, everybody, and you're very welcome, as usual, to our Los Angeles English School YouTube channel. My name's Helen, and if you don't know me, I'm head teacher here at Los Angeles English School. And if you haven't subscribed to this YouTube channel yet, make sure to hit the subscribe button. And if, of course, you'd like to get notified of all our upcoming lessons, make sure also to hit the bell icon. All right, so today we're going to talk about past perfect versus past perfect continuous. This lesson is aimed at advanced and intermediate level students, but everyone is welcome and you can try. Also, I'm encouraging you to be friendly, to be open, and to be responsive so that you can chat with me in the chat box and leave your questions and answers. So I see some people here in the chat box. That's great, guys. All right, so without further ado, let's talk about past perfect continuous. And I have prepared a little bit and I want you to think with me together. So today I woke up at 7 o'clock in the morning. For me, it's pretty early because my first lesson started at 8 o'clock in the morning. So I had to wake up at 7 to get ready for my class. So it was pretty early. Now it's already 12 o'clock for me. It's midday, and all those activities that happened to me before I started streaming this lesson, I can use those actions, I can talk about those activities using past perfect, and I will give you my examples. So here you can see my examples, I hope. And the first example, before I started streaming this lesson, I had already had breakfast. So this sentence here, before I started streaming this lesson, I'm using it in the past simple. And I had already had breakfast. Here I use past perfect, and you can see how we make it. So for past perfect, you use the helping verb had for all persons, and then you use the main verb in the third form. We have, had, so I would say, I had already had breakfast. So what happened first? I started streaming this lesson, or I had breakfast? So guys, you can communicate with me and you can answer in the chat box. So what happened first? So I hope that you understand this, that first I had breakfast. And that action that happened before another action in the past would be used in the past perfect. So you need to think about it as you go back in the past. So we have two actions in the past and one happened before another one, and you want to show this. So also, before I started streaming this lesson, I had already given a lesson. So I said before that I had a lesson at 8 o'clock in the morning, so now it's 12. So I had already given a lesson before I started streaming this lesson. And also, I had already participated in an online conference for teachers. So these are my activities that had already happened before I started streaming this lesson. And those actions that happened first, I would use in past perfect. So I see some answers here. So Victoria, I had a shower before I attended this lesson. Great, exactly. So guys, let me know, what had you already done before you joined this lesson? So you can type your answers in the chat box. So Victoria has already given a nice example. So go for it and give your examples. So what had you already done before you joined this lesson? So we have some more answers. I had already checked my emails before joining you. Oh, that's great. So you would say before I joined this lesson, that would be better. Thus, I will explain why. So because we have this lesson right now, it's very closely connected to the present moment. And actually, if you say before joining this lesson, you would say I have already done something. You would use present perfect, I think. So, but if you use past simple, for example, you say before I joined this lesson, I had done something. So this would be much better. Yeah. All right. So that's great that you got it. All right. So I have some more examples for you and some more practice. So for example, I'm gonna speak about myself, and I'm married, and I think I've been married for more than 10 years now. So, but before I got married, something had already happened to me, and some things hadn't happened yet. So we go back in time, and I say, when I got married, so you perceive this activity, this action, like something that happened in the past. I can say before I got married, or by the time I got married, or I also can say just when I got married. So when I got married, I had already done something, something had happened before, and something hadn't happened yet. So guys, if you are married, let me know please what had already happened to you before that moment, and what hadn't happened to you yet. So of course, I'm lucky if you're married, and married people can write down their examples. So anyways, I'm going to provide my example. So when I got married, I had graduated from university, and I will write down this example. So I had graduated. I had graduated from university. So when I got married, I had graduated from university. So this is something that happened before I got married. I also can say I'd graduated from university. Instead of saying I had, you can put apostrophe and write down D. And this is the contraction of had. So I'd graduated from university when I got married. So we have before I found a job, I had rented my flat. Exactly. That's a good example. Thank you, Victoria. So let's I will give you my example, what I hadn't done yet or what hadn't happened yet in my life when I got married. So when I got married, I hadn't become head teacher at Los Angeles English School yet. So I hadn't become head teacher at LA school yet. So this is something that I hadn't done yet. So when I got married, I'd graduated from university, but I hadn't become head teacher at Los Angeles English School yet. So this is how you can use past perfect, positive and negative sentences. I have some more examples from you. I hadn't had a lot of experience before I found a job. These are very good examples, Victoria. Thanks. That's great. All right, so let's think about some more examples and let's see how else we can use past perfect. So very common phrase with past perfect is by some period of time in the past something had happened. But again, we are looking at the perspective of the action that happened in the past before another action in the past. This is the most common case for past perfect. So, for example, by the time I was born, I want you to think about your birthday. And let's think about the world globally and try to think about some actions that had already happened in the world by the time you were born, or maybe some actions that hadn't happened yet by the time you were born. Can you think of your own examples first before I give you mine? Yeah, typically when we think about our birth, we should think about something global. So Ukraine had become independent by the time I was born. Great. All right. So my example, by the time I was born, I'm really not sure, but I think that by the time I was born, the internet hadn't been invented yet. I remember very old computers, but I don't remember that actually we could use the internet that much. So by the time I was born, the internet hadn't been invented yet. And it's interesting that in this sentence, I am actually using passive voice. Yeah, this is past perfect, but additionally, it's passive. So the internet hadn't been invented. I'm using been here because I'm showing that this is passive. So they hadn't invented the internet yet, or the internet hadn't been invented yet. All right, let's move on to some more examples. So I should say that usually the past perfect also can be used as the equivalent to the present perfect in the past. And what I mean by that, I will show you in a moment. So, for example, when I'm talking about the present perfect, I connect present, past to the present, yeah? For example, you say, oh, I've never been to Greece, or I've never flown by plane, or I've never done something before. So you connect past and present, yeah? Or for example, I've just finished my lunch, or I've just washed my hands that I frequently do. So you connect some activities, some results to the present. So you can think about the past perfect when you connect some results or some activities to the actions in the past. So let's take a look at a few examples. All right, so for example, you have the man sitting next to me on the plane was very nervous. So you imagine a situation that happened to you in the past. Now let's go back a little bit. Sorry, I am maybe confusing you. So let's think about the man and the airplane. Let's imagine that you are flying on the plane and you see a man who is really nervous. And you would say, for example, you're talking to your friend and you say, look at this guy. He's so nervous. I think he's never flown before. So he has never flown before. So because you connect this action to the present. And now let's go to this sentence. So the man sitting next to me on the plane was very nervous. So now you go back in past. And then you make the conclusion. So what would you say about this man? So instead of saying he has never flown before or he has never flown, what would you need to say here? So you would say, because you connect this action to the past, you would say he had never flown before. Because you connect this past activity to the conclusion that also was in the past. So the man sitting next to me on the plane was very nervous. He had never flown before. Let's look at another example. Last month we went to Greece. It was our first time there. So when you, for example, are talking about the present, for example, you say, oh, we are going to Greece. That's wonderful. We've never been there before. So you connect this to the present or future, you use present perfect. But when you connect this to the past, what would you say? So you would say, last month we went to Greece. It was our first time there. We had never been there before. So we'd never been there before. You also can make a contraction here. So he'd never flown before and we'd never been there before. So now you can see how the past perfect functions as the equivalent to the present perfect, but in the past. All right. So, and we are moving on. So we looked at past perfect. Again, when you had two actions or several actions in the past and something happened before another action in the past, you would use past perfect. And it also functions as the equivalent of the present perfect, but when you connect actions in the past. All right, I have one more example for you here, and this is my example. So I had been working as an ESL teacher. If you don't know, ESL means English second language teacher for a year when I met my husband. So as I mentioned before, I'm married, and this is my sentence. So what does it mean here? So I had been working as an ESL teacher for a year. So had been working, this is, as you may guess, past perfect continuous. And if you look at the difference between past perfect and past perfect continuous, you will notice that I also mention one little detail here. I say for a year. And this is the key thing when you want to understand the difference between past perfect and past perfect continuous. Yeah, and the difference is that, just a moment, I lost my connection. Oops. All right, so the difference is that I had been working as an English teacher for a year. You are using past perfect continuous because you also show how long one activity was in progress before another action happened. So when I met my husband, I had been working as an ESL teacher for a year. I also show duration. Not always you will necessarily show how long something was happening in your life, but you will also demonstrate duration, maybe without mentioning actually the number of years or seeing some period. All right, to practice it more, we will do a few exercises. All right. So let's imagine that you have a friend, and your friend, for example, if you know the exam TOEFL or IELTS, these are two very common exams for those who want to travel and who want to find a job in an English-speaking country. And your friend says, for example, I passed my TOEFL or IELTS last month, so he did it. But before that, he had been preparing for this for some time. So that action was before another action in the past, but also you show duration. So he had some time to prepare. So and you can ask him, how long? So what question would you make? Try to use past perfect continuous here. So just go for it. So you would say, how long had you been preparing for it? Yeah, so how long had you been preparing for it? So you would make a question using the past perfect continuous because you are interested in the duration of the action that happened before another action in the past. All right, so I hope that now it's getting clear for you. And I have some more examples. So as past perfect may function as the equivalent to the present perfect, but only in the past, past perfect continuous also functions as the equivalent to the present perfect continuous, but only in the past. So what I mean by that? So usually, for example, when you see some evidence, let's say you meet a friend of yours, and you see that your friend is really tired. And you can ask your friend, have you been working or what have you been doing? So you will use present perfect continuous to ask your friend what has been going on with him. So, but in the same way, you can use past perfect continuous, but you need to think about some evidence or some actions in the past. For example, so here you have the question, the sentence, sorry, I was very tired when I came home. So in the past, I was very tired when I came home. What do you think? What had I been doing? So you can type your answers in the chat box. And here you can use past perfect continuous, which is had been doing. Maybe had been working. Maybe had been running. Maybe had been studying. Maybe had been helping somebody. So what do you think I had been doing? So let's say I'd, which means I had, I'd been working really hard. So this is how you can use past perfect continuous. So I'd been working really hard, and when I was at home, I felt really tired. Another example. So I have your answers. Great. Yeah. Okay. So I was disappointed when I had to cancel my trip. So can you think of an action that had been going on before I actually became disappointed, and why I was disappointed? Can you guess anything? I had been planning a lot. Yeah, so I had been planning it for a long time. Exactly. This is a very good example. Great. My example, I can say, I'd been looking forward to it. So you can say, I'd been looking forward to it, and I was disappointed when I had to cancel my trip. This is how you can use past perfect continuous. And the last thing that I want to share with you guys is that not always you can use past perfect continuous instead of past perfect simple. And probably you know that there are some verbs that rarely take continuous, and it also refers to past perfect continuous. So I have here two sentences for you, and I'd like you to choose one sentence which is correct. So what do you think? Would you say we had known each other for a year? We had been knowing each other for a year. Again, if I come back to my marriage, so today I speak about this a lot. So before I got married, I actually had known my husband for about a year. So I have already given you the correct option. Yeah. So because no, this is a state verb or stative verb, you will not say I had been knowing or we had been knowing each other. And congratulations if you chose this option. So you would say we had known each other for a year. So because no, as I said before, is not normally used in continuous. Yeah, you show the duration, but because this is the state verb, you would use past perfect. So before we got married, we had known each other for a year, or we'd known each other for a year. All right, so I hope that I made it clear for you, and now you know the differences between past perfect simple and past perfect continuous. Again, as a summary, we use past perfect simple and past perfect continuous when we have actions in the past and one action happened before another action in the past. But when you want to show the duration of that action that happened before another action in the past, you would use past perfect continuous. And a reminder that state verbs or stative verbs such as know or understand or believe are not normally used in continuous, so you would use past perfect simple. All right, guys, so I think that I made it clear, and now you know the differences between these two tenses and you can use them. And what I'd like you to do is try and write down your sentences, your own examples with past perfect simple and past perfect continuous, and try to make the sentences authentic. So I always say to my students that if you want to practice English, you have to use real sentences. You have to think about your real life and you have to make examples about yourselves. So I'm looking forward to your examples and I will check them. And if you have any questions, you can also leave them in the comments below this video. All right, guys, thank you very much for joining me today. It was very nice talking to you guys. If you are watching this video in a replay, that's okay. You still can leave your comments and you can ask your questions. Again, if you haven't subscribed to this YouTube channel yet, make sure to hit the subscribe button. And if you'd like to get notified of all our upcoming videos and new lessons, make sure to hit the bell icon. If you'd like to study with us, we have LosAngelesEnglishSchool.com. It's a website and you can visit it and check it out, and you can study with us from any point of the world on Skype. Thank you guys again. Have a fantastic day and I hope to see you in my next lesson. Bye!